Kiran, welcome. So happy to have you on Vitality Women Leading Audaciously podcast today. When I first met you, I was inspired. I mean, you just blew me away, not in a way that I was intimidated, but in a way that I felt really connected and that I had many things to learn from you. So please tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's my pleasure to be here with you. A little bit about myself. I am a business owner. I'm a mother of 3 girls, and I'm a woman, and I love who I am. I think other than bringing my business to wherever it has reached today, I have been really focusing, especially in COVID was a perfect timing for that, focusing on myself. So my mantra has turned from focusing on business to focus on me. And that starts with, if I am happy and if I'm proud of myself and if I love myself, I can conquer anything. And it has tremendously helped me in leveraging and developing solid relationships, in taking my business to quite a next level, especially during COVID when things were so struggling. We were very well and very proud of my team and I. And I feel there's a lot of credit to go with focusing on me.
That's incredible. But I'm assuming that wasn't always the way, that you had to learn that somehow as a mother, as a business owner. And so could you tell us a little bit about, what may have brought you to that realization?
I think 100% you're right. I think we all struggle, irrespective of whether we're a man or a woman or whichever gender we are. We all start the life with, depending on how we grew up, what we learned, and a mixture of our own personalities that we develop over the years. And environment always has a big impact on our growth. And with our taste and our behaviors and our personalities all mixed up, over the years, we start transforming our life and start making a pattern and start creating a box of who we are. And everything has to fit into that box. And the more we try to fit into it, I feel we struggle more. It's more challenging because we're trying to meet a criteria or an image that we have imprinted in our minds, whether it is the heights we want to reach into our professional life or the norm we want to create into our personal home life, and or how a parent we want to be. And after all this is done, then we try to figure out our me time or who we are, and forget me time. It's sometime over the years with all these responsibilities developing and we're trying to be exceptional in every corner. We sometimes lose the meaning of who we are and what exactly do we like. I think I was talking to one of my good friend last week, and I said, there was a time as kids grew, I would sit in the car and I would be okay with whatever music is playing. Because like by the time my oldest one that's 24 to my 20-year-old to my 11-year-old, they're going to go from, the musics of Justin Bieber to Drake and to other music genders. I would be like, okay, the tune seems good. I'm okay. Because in the half an hour of travel time, there is no way possible that I'm going to say, hey, my time. And same goes for restaurants. Sometimes you're like, okay, all the kids are okay and your family's okay. Okay, let's go. It's fine. So unless you're very specifically against a flavor and a taste, you pretty much go with the flow. And I think it could be a mom thing, or at least it's my thing.
Well, it saves a lot of energy, because it's like you're resisting, and that uses a ton of energy, and you needed that energy for your businesses. You needed that energy
and you're trying to just reach a conclusion and enjoy the moment and the time that you have been able to figure out. When we get to the work side, over the years, especially as a woman, you're always trying to prove yourself. You always feel like you got to stand out, you got to make a space. And over the years, I've felt you don't have to make a space. You already had a space. Sometimes we're fighting against just ourselves.
Yeah.
It's all in our mind that I got to reach this place and I got to hit that. If we just go with the flow and just allow our personalities, allow our talent to grow over the time and let it place itself wherever it lands, it's more authentic. And we're not trying to put self into that cookie frame or the square box that we had created. And we enjoy the path. So I think from years to now, even though I felt I was successful and I moved up the ladder, and I'm proud of how I turned into as a mom. I still always say my toys were never lying around everywhere. My kids played with a toy and they had to put away the toys right after that. So I used all those formulas, and I think grew my kids based on all the doctors' ethics and everything that was written in the books I used to read. But now over the years, I've realized that sometimes you just gotta let it be. So these some new words that I've started to apply on myself: let it be, get up in the morning with some gratitude. I have my own morning prayer where I start with thank you, bed, for a good night's sleep. And as soon as I say that line, because it is funny and it's interesting, it just brings a smile automatically in my face. Sometimes I think in my head, okay, weird Karen, whatever idea comes, the end result is it brings a smile on my face. And those little gratitudes in the morning is enough to give you a kick to get off your bed, look at your day, and just live in the moment. So my new
I love it.
mantra is, as soon as I want to freak out because something is not going into the way I had made my schedule, I just say, can I do anything? No. So let me do my best, enjoy the moment, and let it be.
Yeah. And Kiran,
Absolutely.
you have such words of wisdom. No, it's true, because our listeners, you've already answered my question, like, how do you start your day? Like, what is, how do you, recharge yourself and pace yourself? And I'm hearing allow, be with, don't work against the flow of actually what's happening. And I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I just want to pause for a moment because it's flowing so beautifully from you, and just identify for our listeners that Kiran isn't someone who's just super woo-woo and lives in a bypassed kind of isolated way of her ideology. She's applying this to her family. And when you were telling me about your kids and how their friends really came to you and confided in you. So this ideology you're applying also to your parenting. And it's, to me, successful because of your children and where they are and what they're up to, who they've become, their friends and how they relate to you, and also your business. So I just want our listeners to know that about Kiran, because it's not like this could also be said by somebody who hasn't done all the things you've done and isn't as accomplished and loved and respected and well paid.
Yeah, I think the word authentic, and sometime one of the words I learned from a book I read and trying to figure out which one it was let go of the steering wheel. Our hands are so tight on the steering wheel and we are controlling every moment. And we still sometimes get those same results that we are trying to conquer. But what we miss is enjoying the moment, enjoying that journey. And we're always working towards the step ahead, and you finish and forget the step you're in. And what I have tried to work since COVID started, and in some ways, with all the negative and all the pain we all have gone through in the COVID, I felt that it was a very re-energizing time for me, because I started living after creating a pattern for myself that as soon as I would trigger, my mind is triggering to worry, I would say, Karen, you got to remember, you're not going to worry. So it was like recorrecting my brain, and I felt I was retraining my brain. And I repeatedly started saying the words that either I control my brain or my brain is going to control my body. And I'm letting that happen. To my 11-year-old, I kept saying, okay, come. Is your brain controlling you, or you're controlling your brain?
It's interesting that you use the word brain as opposed to emotions, because I think that a lot of times the emotions are what get out of control, but you're actually specifically using the word brain.
And the reason I say that is I feel the brain triggers thoughts and thoughts trigger emotion.
Okay, so
in the end is what you feel is the impact, but somehow the originator is your brain, who is giving all the signals everywhere and has the control of all the control in your body. If you can kind of conquer your world in that context, then your thought obviously will change. because you start taking more. If you're thinking and trying to enjoy every moment you're passing, your thought will turn into positive. And
It's
if your
so
thought is
true.
positive, your emotional is going to be happy, joyous, content, grateful. So I feel that's the trend. At least that's how I have felt. Obviously, no scientific
And to our
research.
listeners, that's also the recipe for vitality. At the end of the day, yes, it's important to eat fresh, an abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables and herbs and nuts and seeds and all that kind of good stuff. But what you're describing right now is the way to basically reorganize the way energy is flowing in your body that develops the nectar of vitality, because vitality is really the nectar. And there's one thing of, growing the tree and then watering the tree. But if the tree bears fruit, you know that the tree is vital, right? It's productive. And that's what we all want, whether we're young or middle-aged or older. And what you're describing is really it. It's so simple, but it's actually not, right? Because we're overwhelmed most of the time, most of us in our daily lives trying to manage it all. So it sounds like your practice of gratitude, your being in the flow. These are my words. Sorry if I'm changing it.
Yeah, living in the moment, right? And sometimes just practicing that, let it be. And it's not that at first when I started, and I was telling, I think my middle daughter, and she's like, so now you're not gonna have your deadlines, since she thinks I'm always the organizing the deadline person. And I'm like, I'm not saying that I'm just gonna have a free world. All I am saying is when you practice let it be, it keeps your brain, your mind, your thoughts, of course, then feelings, everything calmer than you are when you are into a reaction mode, when you're under pressure and stress. And the more calmer you are, you actually get better results. Forget about not hitting the results that you had outlined. Because the time you're thinking about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, that oh my God gives the panic in your mind, and you're not thinking, your creativity is at halt, and your abilities are at question mark, because your brain has triggered a danger zone of oh my God. Whereas if you're calmer and saying let it be, you're like, okay, let me wait, let me analyze it. What's going on? What's my best option? If plan A is not working, what can be my plan B? How can I figure out and catch up what am I missing?
Yeah. And it's counterintuitive for a lot of women. A lot of high performing women are, they feel they've gotten there because of the control, like it's been because I have to be in control. And because I had to be in control, I got to where I was. And what you're saying is the complete opposite of that. But I know what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
But it's so hard sometimes, to take your hands off the steering wheel, right?
It's no different than getting yourself off the bed and go to the gym. It is no different than practicing yoga. It's no different than just smiling more than we do.
But you see how these things seem like they're in opposition?
It's practice.
I know. I totally agree. That's why I always say your daily practice is your strongest medicine. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's everything inside us that is just doing all the time this, right? And the more you're aware, I think it starts from awareness.
Totally.
The more you're aware of it, you start correcting yourself. I would say if you asked me a year and a half ago the same questions, I would have said totally different.
That's so
oh
interesting.
My God, life is hard, and this. I have moved to the space I'm in pretty much in last year and a half. And it's now it's like a daily journey. And the more I'm living calmer life, I had more questions year and a half ago. I had question after question of why this happens, why this, why not that? How can you handle this? It was so many questions that I would question my team and my very close friends. I used to be the talker in those kind of things. I had millions of questions. And then almost like 6 to 8 months ago, I was having a breakfast with a couple of my friend and his wife. And we're talking and they're like, so Kiran, how's life? And I'm like, pretty good. What happened? There's no question. We've been sitting for 10 minutes. I'm like, well, just enjoying the front yard of your house.
Wow.
Your question. I'm like, I don't have any question. And they both smiled at me. And I'm like, what's that smile for? And they're like, something is shifting and you're changing. I was like, I don't know. I ran out of questions. It's like the more
That's
the
so
calmer I'm
beautiful.
getting,
Yeah.
you, not that you're not thinking and you're not questioning yourself, you question, but you're trying to be calm that you figure out an answer. And
It's
it may
reflective as
sound
opposed to reactive.
impossible, but I myself was in a living example of
Yeah.
my transition in last year and a half. And
That is so magnificent. What a great inspiration for all of us to hear. Reflective versus reactive.
yeah,
So beautiful. So tell us about your business, because a lot of these principles that you're describing, you're also applying in your business. And I'd just love to, for our listeners to learn a little more about that.
I started my firm in 2017, M2M Business Solution, and it was another of my quick, sharp, spontaneous decision of leaving automotive in a senior leadership positions, and then all of a sudden saying, "What do I want?"
Mm.
And I was enrolled. I had just enrolled in executive MBA at Western University in Toronto or in London.
Mhm.
And they really ask you a lot in the first week. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? And the answer was, oh, it's my bucket list item. Not just that. And plus, of course, I'm going to learn. There's no ending to learning. To the point that I was asked so many times that I started questioning myself. Is that what I really am I here for? And then I reached the point, okay, let's see, what am I doing now and what do I want my future to be? And I did not like the part that I want to retire as what I was doing and
Mm.
just doing the same thing, just a little bit of variations and moving to different positions and different environment. And I was like, that's it. I've reached the point that I'm just going to change and the flavors of it.
Mm.
And that's when I started questioning myself, what do I want? The more I thought of it, I said, spontaneously gave my resignation, left, took 3 weeks to figure out what I really wanted. And the more I thought about finding out the golden nuggets, if I had any from my previous life, I literally had to get my friends together and say, what do you really think is I'm good at?
Mm-hmm.
Started saying things and I'm taking notes. And then I sat more on it. And more I thought of it, I said, you know what? I really have a secret recipe of my own, of
Mm.
a pattern that I've used in different positions that has really allowed me to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it started from there, going inside and asking yourself. And one of my favorite line in that environment we I was, and many of us still are, is we're in a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Round and round, we get up in the morning and a whole day, run, run, run. In the evening, instead of feeling accomplished of all the 100 things we did, we worry about the two we didn't,
I know.
right? I did not do this. And we call ourselves failure or something that we're short of and something is wrong with it.
Yeah.
And we crib about that and worry about that instead of talking about the accomplishment and things that we have done right. And
Yes.
that's our vicious cycle, to be
I
honest.
know. I
So I
know.
was like, you know what? How can I step outside that? And that's how
Mm.
I started M2M. So my mission became finding out the gaps in the business world's day-to-day operation and
Yeah.
where I could contribute with solutions.
Mm. Fantastic. Beautiful. And then you talked about something that's been born, about a happy workplace. Could you tell us a little bit about the transition into that?
Yeah, so that is our firm is a consulting and advisory firm, and we focus on planning, strategic planning, people development, and process improvements and efficiencies. So when COVID started and businesses were struggling, I took upon all the pieces I had and I put it together. And one of the frequent question I get asked by CEOs when I meet them is, everybody talks about that you need a great culture. Where do you begin? How do you create that environment?
Mhm.
And I always would give them certain answers, but inside I wasn't really satisfied with what I was saying. So I
Mm.
really honed on that question when COVID started, and I said, where do we start? And that's how I put together a whole full package consulting package, and we named it the Happy Organization. So
Mm.
the Happy Organization is focused in transforming businesses into happy organization by focusing on developing inspired employees. So that is way past the stage of figuring out how to engage and motivate.
Yeah.
Engaged and motivate is little getting into history, and we need to focus on some autopilot method, which is inspiring your employees at all times. And then creating workplace innovation, so innovative processes. And our third element, we focus in how do you provide such a value-driven service to your customers that your customers are always delighted.
It's so
That's
important.
what a happy organization is all about, an environment of creativity, inspiration, happiness, joy, and also not only internally, but extending it to your stakeholders and to your customers by delighting them.
That's so beautiful. And that's also the recipe for sustainable change, right? Whether it's in your lifestyle or in an organization. I mean, the two actually mirror each other quite brilliantly.
Yeah. So at some point, my own transformation and some of the formulas that I was transforming under a business with my team kind of all merged together, and they become one underlying foundation of, figuring out ways to create an environment where you're not even delegating, you're creating a system where people themselves want to do it. They have the urge because they're so happy and joyous, and they're given an environment to develop themselves, meet their own individual goals, along in the side they're meeting the company goals and marrying them both together.
Yeah, so sweet. I'm hearing also the same theme about, your relationship with yourself, like being able to say, hey, I met my goals today. That makes you a much happier person. So you can apply that also to these organizations, and then it gets optimized from the inside out, which is rare. And I'm sure you know that, right? It's usually from the outside in, or it's some kind of superficial band-aid. But it sounds like the work that you're doing with yourself, your family, and these organizations is deep, is sustainable, and regenerative.
Thank you.
So if people want to learn more about you, be in contact with you for your consulting services for their organizations, what is the best way for them to find you?
I would say if anybody is on LinkedIn, just search for Kiran Mann.
And we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Mann. And happy to have you visit our website, which is M2M-businesssolutions.com. Our company name is M2M Business Solutions, Inc. Or send me a message, phone call. I always leave everything open, and I allow people to find the best way they prefer. One of the motto I've used is ask my clients, employees I meet that, do you prefer text or a phone call or an email, whichever, I'll just make a note of that. So just
Wonderful.
Google my name, and I'm sure I can be tracked.
Wonderful. Well, knowing that the women listening are high performers, and like you and me, they're juggling a lot between their business and their parenting, their household, and relationships. Do you have any last words of wisdom for these women, for us?
I think as a woman, and playing the role of a woman, mother, and a business owner, I would say keeping balance, which we all know, and we try to find millions and gillions of gazillions of articles of balancing work and home. The secret starts from first finding few minutes for yourself. The moment this morning, I was thinking I went to drop off my 11-year-old to school, and it's a nice drive, quiet with a bit hills up and down. And I said, you know what? It's just about perspective. I can say that I had to spend half an hour to drop my daughter, and now it's my half hour short from my work day. Or I can say it was my half hour where I was able to chit chat with her, tease her on my way. And on my return, I cranked up the music. I was screaming loud, and I was just enjoying my environment around. So when I came back in 5 minutes, I had a 9 a.m. meeting, and I was like, I'm all pumped. Listen to 3 good numbers that I love. I just jumped and screamed in the car and act like a 20 and not the age I am. I just teased my daughter in the morning, asked her which superstar she loves, until she said Iron Man is the person. And that's it. That was all in 20 minutes. Not bad. And I still dropped her off to school.
That's so great. That's fantastic.
So find those silly 5-10 moments that can give you a kick for your day.
I am totally the same. That's why I'm cracking up. I'm like, that could have been me because really it makes a huge difference. Even if it's like for me, also sometimes 5 minutes of sit ups or some kind of dance move or, scream, singing at the top of my lungs in the car. Like, I'm so with you on that.
Whatever
That's great.
works, right?
Well, thank
Anything
you.
that can raise your blood pressure for some time positively and bring some good smile on your face is perfect to start your day.
Yeah. And I think it's about the connection for me. Like I've noticed because I've been trying to figure out how to share this joy, because it's no fun if it's just isolated to me. And I think it's about this connection to the vibration of the music or connection to the vibration in yourself. It's a connection of sorts, with something other than like your to-do list, or your tasks that you have to manage in some way, things that you enjoy. We forget how to play as adults. It's just such an important part of also being an adult is learning how to play, learning what is play, maybe outside of recreational drinking and whatnot. At least for
That's
me.
a very key point, finding connection.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
that's very important before you can start enjoying those connections. What is that will trigger you and get you going?
Yeah.
Everybody has their own, and you gotta find that before you can begin this journey.
Thank you, Kiran. You've been so generous with your time and your wisdom. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Lovely talking to you.